Hey everybody, I'm Jesse,
And I'm Addie.
and we just finished watching Arthur the King. This movie had me be
Ballin'.
an emotional wreck. Be an emotional wreck.
Crying, screaming, throwing up.
No better way to explain it. Yeah, if you haven't seen the trailer, this movie is about a team of marathon runners, but this is
Adventure
adventure
racers.
racing,
Yeah,
right?
that's
Is
what
what
it's
this was
called.
called, and they found a dog along the way, and it
The
follows
dog
them.
finds them.
The dog finds them, and they run the race with the dog as their companion. Uh, won't give away much else. I don't think there's much to give away, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's pretty straightforward. It's a movie about adventure, and you have a dog companion, and the adventure parts are adventurous. They don't feel visceral, but they do feel fun. Like they make me want to get in there
Yeah.
and run this marathon and run around and join them on this trip. But it did feel adventurous in that part. Like it was there. I've seen movies sometimes where like it's an action adventure or something and it's just like dull. It's boring. It's just doesn't have anything going for it. This movie was otherwise. It did a really good
Yeah.
job with the adventure bits.
I agree. I had never heard of adventure racing as a sport before, and it wasn't like a triathlon where you have to like do, you know, swimming and then biking and then running or whatever. Like they basically gave them freedom to do whatever they had to do, and then they had like certain like resting spots along the way, and you kind of just had to figure your way out. Of course, I think in this one they were spread out across like one side of the country of the Dominican Republic.
Yeah.
And so they basically just said like get to whatever location, however way you deem fit. And then I think they had like prepackaged their food to like be at every single location that they were gonna go visit. And then I do think at the end they had to like kayak 30 miles, and that was like you had to do that because there I guess was no other way to get to the finish line.
Yeah.
But other than that, everything was adventurous. So it was interesting to see like them showing different teams going to like different trails or like different, I don't know, adventure.
It was very cool. Yeah, because it's just like I didn't know this was a thing either, and it was cool. The way they explained it was just like there's these dots on the map. You have to get to each dot. The whichever way you get there is up to you. So that was really interesting, and it's like again, it shows. I like that it showed how people were mapping out different paths and everything, and not everybody just going down the same path. And it was not just a marathon. Like this was a good story to make a movie out of because you can see like the team seeing each other and being like, wait, what's going on? Why is that team going this way or whatever? You know, like should we be following them? And the competition, the sense of competition is there.
Yeah, that was super interesting to watch.
Yeah,
especially if you've never knew this thing existed.
And on that note, I felt personally like the cast had a good enough chemistry. Sometimes they just pick people that's like they're like, oh, this person could portray the real life version of them, but on screen that person might not have good chemistry with other people in that cast.
Yeah.
And at the beginning it might have felt that way because I feel like the introductions maybe were a little bit rushed.
Yeah, it did feel very rushed in the beginning, and it kind of felt like, I don't know, like a superhero type movie where like
they're like what they're going for.
One person that knows that's like well connected, and he goes and like picks apart a team, and then the team is good.
Yeah.
So it felt a little like that because we barely got to know the main character before he started going off on his, adventure quest and finding his team. But we also didn't know much about these random people other than like the 3 sentences that he spoke to them. So
but I think they do a decent job of exposition. It's kind of just like, oh, so and so is related to so and so, and yeah, I ran with them, or they're a 3-time gold medalist or something.
Yeah.
You know,
I just like the story. I would have liked to have like a little bit more backstory on each of the characters, especially because you get kind of attached to them as they're fighting for their lives.
But clearly that's a good thing. You get attached to them. So it's like as you follow them through this journey. They do a good job of like creating and building this story because like you said, you do get attached to these characters as you go on and learn about who they are, and then kind of like resentments pop up throughout the run and stuff like that, and there's banter and it works. It never feels forced, which I liked. I enjoyed.
Yeah, good camaraderie.
Yeah, I thought they did a really good job there, and of course, the star of the show Arthur,
The
the
dog.
dog that we get to see a little bit of him in the beginning, see the life that he was living, and how he was just basically another street dog.
Mhm.
And we get to know and love him, and we get to see how he comes to meet the team, how he becomes a part of the team. And of course, with any based on a true story movie, a lot of these things are either heightened from reality
Mhm.
to make them
Exaggerated or not.
exaggerated,
Mhm.
yeah, to make them seem larger than life. I haven't checked what was and what wasn't like exactly like correct about like the
Mhm.
situations with the dog, but at least from the pictures that they showed at the end, like they usually do, any good based on a true story movie does, uh, it seemed like it followed a lot of the
Yeah,
good
I
points
felt
of the
like
story.
they made sure that the pictures that like the owner gave them to like put in the movie were kind of
Happened.
that they
Yes.
happened, and there was like a specific scene that they like
Yep.
filmed correctly enough to like match the picture.
Yeah. I like
But
that. I
yeah,
like that
I
because it
was
makes
just
it.
like, oh, I see what they were doing here.
Yeah.
So I guess the highlights of the movie were real.
Yeah.
There was just I did a quick Google, and there was some things that like were not accurate and people were
Yeah.
mad about. But I guess the base storyline is accurate.
Yeah. But every scene with the dog, like even when there was nothing bad happening,
Yeah, at the
had me
beginning.
like watery eyed, and I was like, nothing is even happening, nothing bad. He's just with them, and I'm just like, and we kept looking over and being
Yeah.
like,
Sad.
every time, like he showed up on screen,
Miss our dog.
fantastic job.
I will say,
with
I think maybe you noticed or maybe you
what?
didn't. The dog noises that they put, because like I mean, this is a real dog. It wasn't
Mhm.
like a CG or
Like weren't from
fake.
him or something.
Well, no, they didn't look like they matched what the dog was doing. So there was like a lot of a couple, or not a lot, but like most of the scenes where like the dog was sitting and like panting with his mouth open, and then they like would play a sound of him going like doing a little whine, and I'm
Mm.
like, the dog's mouth didn't even move. He didn't even make a little whine sound. They didn't even catch him like breathing or something, which
Wow.
I know is difficult to train a dog to make certain sounds on command. But I just thought they could have done a little bit better on just dog sitting and then them putting like a little grunting sound when the dog clearly didn't grunt.
Yeah. I mean, it could be, especially when you need him to make a noise on command. If you can get him to do it, and it's
Yeah.
easier to just comp that sound on top
Yeah.
and make it as believable as possible. I'm sure they did that,
Mhm.
because I did catch that on something else.
On what?
The extras were doing a not so great job when they were like all together and clapping. So you could tell that they weren't clapping because obviously they cannot. They just added in clapping sounds,
Gotcha. I
and
didn't
they were
notice
doing this.
that.
But I could just tell because they're not like, the motion was just
Yeah.
not there. It wasn't that they were making contact, but the motion was just not there. And
I
I
just
was
thought
like,
they weren't as excited because the Mark Wahlberg's
Yeah,
character walked in, and then everybody was kind of just like,
yay,
"Yay!" And I was like, "That's a little
Yeah.
awkward."
There was some parts obviously with like the acting that didn't make it perfect, but as a dog movie, it was fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay, it had me
Great dog movie.
roller coaster of emotions, and then the end. Of course, it's a dog movie. If there's gonna be a dog movie that's made, it's gonna have some sort of emotional roller coaster. And sure enough, at the end, I was holding back so many tears. I was a wreck. Okay, I'm not afraid to admit I was a wreck. But on that point, I would love and be happy to give this movie a solid 9.
Ooh.
The only reason I dock a point, I would give it a 10 if it was just about Arthur. But
yeah.
just those little like nitpicks, like we said about the clapping,
just Mark
and then like
Wahlberg.
little things. I mean, I personally love Mark Wahlberg.
I think
thought
he
was
did.
great.
He did great after they started adventuring. I didn't like him at the beginning.
The only other
He was
thing,
like a
along
piece
with
of
like the
crap.
clap and like the comping of sounds here and there, is that as a dog owner, I personally would have been uncontrollably crying during certain scenes when he like calls his wife to like have a conversation with her.
I mean, that was his like 6th day of owning a dog.
I would still be hella attached to that dog, and I would be bawling that, because at that point he already knew that he was attached to him and he wanted to take him.
Yeah.
Without saying anything else.
Is that a spoiler? Oh.
And take him. I think that's okay. There's not much else that I'm giving away, but I would have been hella. Again, to each their own, right? But
Well, precisely. Well, if like at that
But
point
also,
he
we
already
couldn't
knew
have
he
him
was attached.
balling. Yeah, we couldn't have him balling because then he does still need to say his lines.
Yeah.
But anyways, that's
Yeah.
just a me thing.
Yeah.
That's the we. There's no need to go on about it. That's a me thing. But for that reason, for those couple little things, and it's not a perfect score, but it's a solid 9 because it's a fantastic, wonderful, emotional, lovable dog story, and I feel very strongly about that 9, and I will stand by
it. Say it with your chest. Well, I guess I'll go. I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 10. 10 out of 10 for the dog, but I like more story. I would have liked to have like a little bit like of an introduction to the characters, or a better introduction to the characters. And then I would have liked to have seen the teammates, the race mates. What happened to them? The race ended, and then we just never saw them again.
Oh yeah.
And they were just gone. Like they didn't even. Well, there was like a small interaction with another team, but they didn't show like everybody finishing the like, you know, the race or whatever. They didn't show they made a point to mention a certain detail that I will not spoil, but they never followed up on it, and I just wanted to know.
Tell me after this, because I don't know what detail you're talking about.
I just wanted to know that, but like there was just like certain things that they like mentioned about each of the teammates that they never followed up on, and then of course not, because like the story is about the dog, not about the team. But then why even bring it up in the first place?
See, I didn't think it was that big of a deal. I think it's also just we're too used to like the superhero genre where like things are happening.
Oh yeah.
Things are happening. We have the climax, and then we reconnect with everybody at the end to finalize
Would love a reconnect.
to tie that bow.
Well, yeah, but that's why I like those movies, because they feel like a good, perfect movie plot setup.
But I guess it just
that's
wasn't
why I'm
necessary.
just like, well, yeah, but that's what makes it not that great of a movie to me. I would like a resolution. I would like a part 2.
I will call Mark Wahlberg and be like, "Hey, you didn't tie the bow.
Please.
My wife wants the bow."
It's gonna take another 4 years, because apparently they started filming this movie in like early 2021.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's been a while. But yeah, I don't even know if this is a spoiler, because it's a thing that happened, but like there was a detail that they didn't put in at the end that I would have liked to have known and not have found out about it.
Is this a different detail?
Yes, by just Googling.
Oh, I know what you're saying. Okay.
Yeah. So very offended that they didn't mention that when they knew it had happened. But other than that, I thought it was great.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was a great movie. I think I also just really enjoyed, I really enjoyed like all the adventure bits. Like I'll reiterate what I said at the beginning, was that it felt like an adventure movie. It felt like
there was
I was watching what's it called? Journey to the Center of the Earth without any monsters.
Yeah.
But it was still fun to watch. Like at no point was there like a lull where there was too much exposition, they were sitting around too long or something, and I was like, oh, come on. Because I've felt like that recently with movies. I feel like there's that second act is just too boring for me. And this one, again, by no means is it a perfect movie, but it kept that momentum going throughout the film, which felt quite nice.
Yeah. I mean, they also quite literally
had momentum to keep.
Well, yeah, they only had like an hour to rest.
Oh yeah.
They couldn't lull for long.
I will say also, I will definitely be looking more into these races, because not that I will join, but like it's interesting. I'm like, I want to know what these people are doing, because this is crazy. Like the amount of stuff they have to do nonstop, basically, is wild.
Yeah, I like all of this like genre of movie where it's like based on true story, but it's about this like very niche like sport event type thing, like the Gran Turismo. I know like F1's not niche, but I had never
niche to us.
Yeah, I had never learned that in depth about racing cars.
Yeah, but I'm liking this trend of like based on true story movies that are actually good, and they're not too far from the truth.
Yeah.
So, stamp of approval. Watch this in theaters. Please go support this film.
Was today the first day it came out?
Yes. Technically, yesterday would have been the pre-release, so today was like the official like release day.
Okay. The theater wasn't empty, but it didn't have like
could have been
the
more
nice
full.
screen.
Yeah. Could have been more full, but go support this film. It needs the love and support. That puppy needs to get his paycheck.
I don't even think it's a puppy at this point. I think it's just Mark Wahlberg. Didn't he like direct, produce, and star in it?
I'm sure he probably did. But yeah, to wrap this up, Great movie.
Yes.
Check it out in theaters.
Go dogs.
Yes. Go dogs. We don't deserve dogs, is what I meant to say. Humans don't deserve dogs. Love dogs. But yeah, if you check out this film, if you've seen it already, let us know what you think in the comments below. Till next time.